Welcome those of you just joining us to Matthew Knight Arena in Eugene. A full house at Matt Court for this one today. It's Grant Verhoeven missing inside. Along with Matt Muehlbach and Lewis Johnson, Roxy Bernstein with you. As number 11 Oregon, a 6-5 lead on Stanford. A couple of threes already for the Ducks by Peyton Pritchard and Tyler Dorsey. And now Chris Boucher gets into the act for the Ducks.
Well, he had just changed that shot by Verhoeven. A great defensive play. And I said this earlier, Roxy. This is something Stanford can't have. They can't have Oregon shooting them out of the gym, and they can't have steals on breakaways either.
Jordan Bell finishes and one.
Wow. And that's unbelievable defense from Oregon. It's not just the offense. We've seen them with the threes already. Boucher loved that jumper. That was right in front of us. Beautiful looking stroke, and this is really what can get you when they get on the break. Bell coming big again, 11-0 run.
Been straight for number 11 Oregon after Stanford jumped out to a 5-0 lead. The Ducks up 6 at Matthew Knight Arena, along with Matt Muehlbach and Lewis Johnson. Roxy Bernstein with you. And Oregon, a little bit of a sluggish start without Dylan Brooks. They recovered, and they're rolling right now.
Yeah, Stanford up 5-0, and then all of a sudden they hit, Oregon that is, hit 3 threes. And I was saying that's the one thing this Stanford team comes in as a big underdog. You see Dylan Brooks there out in this game thinking, hey, this is a possible upset, no question about it. And then Oregon all of a sudden on fire from downtown.
Rebound, Michael Humphrey. So Oregon without Dylan Brooks, out with a left foot injury, and Reed Travis, a right shoulder injury, is out again for Stanford. As Lewis Johnson told you a little while ago, Stanford hopes to have him next Sunday when they take on Cal over in Berkeley. Marcus Sheffield in the game for the Cardinals. Michael Humphrey steps out for the long two.
Yeah, that was close to threes. Shooting about 20% from three. And his range is decent, Rox. He can get it out there, but I think that's right inside the line is better for him.
Josh Sharma, the 7-footer, also in the game for the Cardinals. Dylan Ennis knocks one down. And Oregon, who blistered the nets against Cal from 3 on Thursday night, are now 4 of 5 from downtown to start this one.
It's contagious in this league right now. We have so many teams that can come in and knock 15, 16, 19 in on a game. And as I mentioned, the Stanford team, I felt defensively could play with Oregon. I thought what would be problematic is trying to score for Stanford on the other end. This is not a good start for Stanford. Oregon
fouling Dylan Ennis as Jared Haas. His team has recovered for an 0-4 start in league play. They've won 3 straight, including a win up the road in Corvallis Thursday night, where they held the Beavers to 35% shooting and forced 17 Oregon State turnovers in the game. And Stanford trailed by 9 early in that ball game before they got it going at Gill Coliseum.
Well, I think that's a great point, because this whole season has been kind of recovering from Stanford. They had a really incredible schedule, the best schedule in the Pac-12 coming into conference play.
Michael Humphrey missing from the elbow, and a foul going for the rebound, and it's on Josh Sharma of Stanford. First on the sophomore, and it's the 3rd team foul already against the Cardinal. Well, so Oregon, who has won 15 straight, going for a school record 16th straight victory. The last time they won 15 in a row, you got to go back to the early 1900s, 1912, 1913, when they won 15 straight. And you know Hayward Field, the track stadium here.
Sure.
Well, Bill Hayward coached the basketball team also back then. Shot clock winding down. Dylan Ennis all the way to the cup.
Well, if there is one guy on this Oregon team, you see the difference between November, and you had these guys early. In fact, you and Bill had these guys in China, or you had Stanford in China, but I had Oregon really early. Dylan Ennis, I could tell, had not really figured it out yet, trying to get into this team. He looked so much better, maybe the most improved on this team from November.
Nice pass by Marcus Allen to a cutting Josh Sharma. Chris Boucher from deep. And a foul going for the rebound. Will stay at this end, says Keith Kimball. So Oregon has won 15 straight, which ties a school record. They've also, Matt, they've won 37 straight here on their home floor, which already is a school record. And they have the second longest active home court winning streak in college basketball. And as somebody who never lost a home game in his college career, Matt, I'm going to ask you the question.
Yes.
What's it like when you take the floor knowing the dominance you have on your home floor?
Well, I was lucky enough, timing-wise, 64-0 over 4 years. And when you go out there, I thought about this a lot when you asked me this at shoot-around today, and it takes really three things. Obviously, you have to have ridiculous talent and coaching. But I think the second thing, Roxy, is a culture. This goes over years. This is not just a one-year thing with a good team. And I think the third thing, obviously crowd, but a crowd that shows up in the big games. They understand the big games, and they show up in the big games. And we've really seen this Oregon crowd already this year. Right when conference started, you saw it. You had the game against UCLA. They were terrific. And I guess I'd add one more thing. Be a little lucky as well.
Yeah, they did find a way to win it. Luck was on their side that night when they knocked off UCLA right here to open up conference play. As already Oregon into the bonus, Chris Boucher to the line. And the rebound, Marcus Sheffield. So Stanford already some early foul difficulty and now a giveaway. And has thought about it. 2 fouls on Humphrey and 2 on Sharma already for the Cardinal.
Well, and that steal with Boucher, I think the Stanford players saw him. They just didn't think he could get there.
And Chris Boucher called for the charge. Offensive foul. Let's check in with Lewis Johnson.
Well, Roxy, for the audience who just joined us a few moments ago, wondering why Dylan Brooks is not out on the court. He had an incident on Thursday against Cal where he injured his lower left leg, and there was some concerns that maybe he had re-broken that left foot, the one that he had surgically repaired last summer. Well, that's not the case. Dylan Brooks has a sprained left foot. See him on the bench in a boot, going to be reevaluated, and the unfortunate news as well is there's no timetable for his return. So Brooks, sprained left foot, and we'll see what happens.
Now, Oregon does have experience, Matt, playing without Dylan Brooks. They had to do it early in the year.
I saw them early the first 2 games without Brooks, and I thought you could tell they weren't the same team. Nice putback right there by Stanford, but they were, you could tell, struggled. Chemistry wasn't the same, and all of a sudden, I think they've really rounded into shape, so it was very disappointing to see him go down the other night.
Dylan Ennis from way out there. 19-11. Oregon on top now as the Cardinal struggling covering the three-point line. Oregon's 5 of 7 from downtown.
Well, and I think part of this is Stanford's D. They're not trying to give them shots. They want to close hard, but that's one way they could beat this Oregon team is if they didn't get on fire from 3, but that has not been the case. Ennis, the rest of the Ducks on fire.
Prison presents Life Elevated in the blocks from the Swatter boy, Chris Boucher.
This guy, this highlights of him. Look at the athleticism. Of course, we know about the length. 7'3" and a half wingspan. And I was talking to him before the game. I said, what is it that makes you such a great shot blocker? He said, the vision, the timing. He said, I can see these plays about 5 seconds before they happen. I said, almost like a defensive back or something. He said, you got it.
Well, Boucher had 5 blocks against Cal here on Thursday. Oregon as a team blocked 10 shots, and the Ducks lead the country in blocks at nearly 8 per game. Casey Benson, who was 5 of 5 from 3 against the Golden Bears on Thursday, is in the game for Oregon. A turnover by the Ducks. And by the way, during that last timeout, one of the shots from Dylan Ennis was ruled a 2 after video review, so take a point away from Oregon and Ennis, and it's a 7-point Ducks lead.
Yeah, big thing here, Stanford just hang in. I mean, it's an explosion so far by this Oregon three-point shooting. And if Stanford can hang, again, we've talked about it. They have been in deficits. They have been up against it. We see Verhoeven there. That's huge to get your 4 coming in and knocking one in. Not a great three-point shooter, but he will shoot them from time to time.
Dylan Ennis from long range answers the Grant Verhoeven 3. Ennis with 10. He's 4 of 4 from the floor. Trevor Stanback with a putback earlier for the Cardinal. Reaches in. And it's a foul against the Cardinal and the freshman from Pasadena, Stanback. And Jared Haas wondering, well, how's that a foul? They both had the basketball.
Yeah, I agree with him.
So it is a foul on Stanback and a 1-and-1 for Oregon.
You see right here coming in. I think he's got it. There's no foul there.
One and one for Benson, a 69% foul shooter. The junior from Tempe, Arizona, who's adjusted to a different role as of late, coming off the bench. In fact, Benson's come off the bench each of the last 16 games after 42 consecutive starts.
Well, he was their Elite 8 starter. You don't find a lot of point guards that started in an Elite 8 game. Going to the Final Four was terrific last year for this team. Kind of an underrated, ran the club. And I thought his threes the other night, Roxy, against Cal, might have changed his season. Gave him some huge confidence.
Trevor Stanback drops it in. And Stanback, who had scored 2 points the entire season prior to today, has 4 in this game.
Yeah, you talk about guys coming in and needing something against this Oregon team, especially with Reed Travis out. And I have to get out my notes on this kid. Jeez.
His brother Chase, a terrific player at both UCLA and UNLV. And Benson continues his hot shooting. 5 threes for Oregon.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the third one he hit the other night. Nice
Develop Bigby Williams the block.
He hit his third one, and he really got the crowd pumped up. And you don't see that from Benson very often. And I think a guy that was sort of waiting for Benson. You know, all that time, as you mentioned, was a starter last year, came off the bench this year. Maybe a little frustrated, but you can tell Benson not a guy that would ever complain about it. Great job by Dorsey to look right there. His shot looks perfect right now. Love the point without even looking at him. Yeah, you don't even look. Just got a point over there. You know who it was. That's the other thing with this Oregon team. I think they're passing the ball a lot better than when I saw them here in November and December. A lot of guys trying to figure out roles, and you can see the unselfish play by this team right now. Second in the conference in assists.
And they're 15th in the country at 17.5 assists per game. As Marcus Sheffield to the bench with his second foul, Jordan Bell gets a breather. A 1-and-1 for Dylan Ennis, a 79% foul shooter, the 6th-year senior. Began his college career at Rice, transferred to Villanova, played 2 games last year, and received a medical hardship waiver because of a foot injury in late June, which curtailed last season, and is flourishing here in his 6th season.
That's a perfect word. Flourishing ever since the break. You know, I'm looking at him right now. He almost looks like he's dropped a couple pounds. He looks slimmer. He looks so buff when I saw him in November. He looks more in basketball shape right now.
Largest lead for the Ducks. And real foul trouble for Jared Haas in Stanford. Shot clock at 5 for Robert Cartwright. Not sure if that was a shot or an attempted pass to Stanback, who fumbled it out of bounds, and the Cardinal give it away. Stanford 11-8 overall, 3-4 in the league, and they've won 3 straight coming in here. Taking on a 17-2 Oregon team that has rolled off 15 consecutive wins, trying to get a school record 16th straight here today. And they're a perfect 6-0 in conference action. Casey Benson, and he walked. And Oregon with a turnover. Well, the Cardinal, here's your Coors Light cold hard facts. They have struggled against ranked teams, 0-5 against ranked teams. 4 of those games, including today, have been played on the road against ranked teams. The last time they beat a ranked team was when they knocked off Oregon at Maples Pavilion last February.
Last year, yeah. Well, you look at, and they didn't just play ranked teams, they played big-time ranked teams. You look down there playing Kansas, St. Mary's, terrific in the Bay Area.
And they've had some good wins. They went over to Shanghai, China to open the season to take on Harvard. They knocked off Tommy Amaker's team to start the year. Colorado State is a solid win.
Well, I didn't even mention, obviously, UCLA, Arizona in conference. I was just thinking non-con. And, you know, I think you think about teams that played tough schedules have played well in the league. They've been those teams have fought in the league, and I feel like that's what Stanford's done the last 3 weeks is fight. Can they fight out of this deficit?
Chris Boucher in and out on the three, and Marcus Allen the rebound. And a foul committed by Oregon in the backcourt. It's on Casey Benson. First on Benson. But Stanford, the last 3 games, their offense has been up, but it's also been the defensive end. In their first 4 conference games, Matt, Stanford was giving up 87.5 points per game. In the last 3, they're giving up a shade over 56.
Yeah, no question they turned it up. Also, part of it is, have to be candid, is the schedule turned for them. And you can go through patches of this conference where you get 4 really tough ones, and then you get 4 you can win. And that's exactly what happened to them. Arizona, UCLA, USC, and then all of a sudden they had some games they could win, and they did.
Tyler Dorsey follows his own miss. And the schedule, you talk about having a rough go of it. Colorado hasn't recovered from a difficult start to their league play as they began the season in conference play on the road at Utah. They had 3 straight road games to start conference play as Cartwright short on a 3. And it's out of bounds to Oregon. But then they hit the road to Arizona, had the LA schools at home. It's been a tough row of it for Colorado. They lost in overtime earlier in Pullman.
I mean, you talk about that, the road games early. Tyler Dorsey, though, we talked about him in the pregame, coming, bringing it in the absence of Dylan Brooks.
Saturday Hoops is presented by Wendy's. And by Clean Crisp Coors Light. With great beer comes great responsibility. And by Black Bear Diner. Good old-fashioned family food. Oregon 6 of 9 from downtown. They're up 12 on Stanford as the Ducks look for their 16th straight win. And Dylan Ennis, a key figure in the surge by Oregon.
Well, we've had how many guys in this league that have gone from different places? You see him there at Rice. Starts there, heads to Villanova, and you know, it just didn't really work out. And the unfortunate thing for him is he leaves, and then they win a national title. I talked about that with him earlier this year. He said, that's okay, I'm good with it, because I want to win one here at Oregon. And, you know, his numbers getting better. You see right there the field goals. I thought early on he was forcing things. He just didn't really feel in sync, and that can be expected when you see all the moving he's done, moving around, that is, playing better right now. The most improved guy in my mind from like November until today.
And keep in mind, he basically didn't play in a game for 2 seasons. Granted, he did play in 2 games last year, but an abbreviated season. So it took him a while to get the feel, Matt, of playing in a game again.
Well, I always use the example of the greatest player in the world ever, Michael Jordan. He was out, and when he came back, I remember that game against Indiana. He struggled that year, that half season, and you can just tell. That, to me, is the example for any kid that comes back after a year or 2.
Michael Humphrey, Josh Sharma back in the game for Jared Haas and Stanford. Each have 2 fouls. Casey Benson missing a 3. And the rebound by Humphrey, as Benson had made 9 of his last 10 threes over the course of today and the previous 2 games prior to that miss.
Dana's not going to yank him? Not going to bring him out? I mean,
he's gone cold.
He's got to get him out.
Tough pull-up by Cartwright. First points for Robert Cartwright.
Well, you look up right now at the scoreboard, and it feels like it should be 40-15 after all the threes, and only down 8. Stanford in a decent position after the Oregon start.
Chris Boucher goes to the basket and finishes.
Good Lord. Off the bounce, Boucher, and that was on Sharma, who's very athletic and a good shot blocker.
12 best worthy?
Oh, Oh, 100%.
Michael Humphrey silences the crowd momentarily.
A little quieter two-pointer, but just as big nonetheless.
Peyton Pritchard. And a foul on Josh Sharma for clearing out and a push off his third foul.
Well, and this is the thing. I never remember seeing Boucher go off the bounce like this from three-point line. Look, he lines up Sharma. And, you know, we see a lot of the posters like this, and you can hear it, bam, right there. And a lot of times when you have those posters, it's because a guy just misses the ball. He went right over his hand, way above the Sharma hand for the posterization.
6 now for Boucher. Sharma has to sit with the 3 fouls. Grant Verhoeven is back in, while Oregon, first appearance for Roman Sorkin, the junior from Ashdod, Israel.
I think the NBA scouts are sleeping a little bit on Boucher. I've heard second round, late second round. I think he's much better than that. I think he's got tons of potential.
Michael Humphrey missing from the elbow, and Dylan Ennis clears for the Ducks. You think he has that much potential for the next level?
I really do. I mean, because he can spread the floor, because he can shoot it. I know he's thin.
He can block shots.
But he blocks everything that comes his way. He can guard probably 3 positions.
Shot clock inside 10. Jordan Bell on the baseline. Boucher, the follow. Largest lead for Oregon. And Stanford a giveaway. 7th Cardinal turnover.
And it feels like that Oregon pressure has increased what I remember early in the season as well. You can tell, I think, now when their defense is settled in, they really know how to get back after the pressure's beat. That was one of the problems. They would bring pressure and teams could beat it for an easy bucket. Not anymore.
Jordan Bell on the baseline. And it's a 16-point lead for the Ducks.
Well, what's impressed me is just Oregon's offense. They're a top 30, 35 offense in the country when you look at efficiency, but they look better to me than that.
And it just seems the Dana Altman teams, Matt, get better and better as the season goes on. That's been the track record for Dana Altman, is Robert Cartwright missing a 3.
I agree with you, and it's 100% visible from seeing them earlier in the year. You can see everything about it, the ball movement, how they're moving.
Humphrey kind of lost it going up.
Yeah, he did. Tried to recover, actually tip. It was a tip, it wasn't a shot.
Stanford playing without Reed Travis, their leading scorer and rebounder on the season. And of course, as you probably know, Dylan Brooks out as well with the injury for Oregon. And a foul before Stanford can leak out and get a transition game going. Outside Matthew Knight Arena this rainy Saturday in Eugene, the Ducks up big in front of a full house. Time report, Mike Yam in studio with Eldridge Rick Hasner and Kevin O'Neill. How about Arizona's huge win at Pauley Pavilion? They'll break that one down. And Colorado, Washington State go overtime. And Arizona, the first game with Alonzo Trier, and this is how they respond.
That surprised me. I thought Arizona would be on their level. And you look at those numbers. How about Ball, career high, and they lose? What have we talked about? What's made him great? Not scoring, getting others the ball. I think a lot of those were them trying to get back in it, but Arizona controlled that second half. I think that's the part that surprises me, not just that they won the game.
Dorian Pickens way off on a 3. UCLA just couldn't get stops, Matt. Arizona was able to score at will today against the Bruins.
Well, and that's the thing. When they score, then it slows UCLA down offensively, so it's both of those things obviously connected, and I think Arizona and this Oregon team, the 2 best defensive teams in the league.
Chris Boucher traveled. 2:21 left in the half, and Oregon on a 15-4 run right now, enjoying their largest lead of the game. And Dana Altman, who's won 3 Pac-12 Coach of the Year awards already, including each of the last 2, And he's doing a phenomenal job again this year with number 11 Oregon.
Well, you can almost just take Altman against the field every year. I mean, that's how good he's been. It's been sensational, and a coach that incredible details. We saw him running scout team today.
He's been running scout team all year.
It's incredible. I mean, it's...
Oh, I got to say, with the job that Sean Miller has done this year has been phenomenal considering the off-the-floor issues plus the injuries he's been dealing with.
Well, right now, those two guys for sure, in my mind, top two in this conference.
Dorian Pickens missing a three, and Jordan Bell clears for Oregon.
As coaches of the year and what they've done and what they've had to go through. And again, Altman without Dylan Brooks, as you mentioned.
Chris Boucher launches and hits a 7 3-pointer for Oregon in the first half of this game.
I could watch him shoot threes all day long. I'd love to see him shoot them in the NBA off the rack. The three-point contest, because he doesn't really is low efficiency on those shots.
Oregon by 19 now, and a steal for the Ducks. One minute remaining in the half, and after Stanford scored the first 5 points, it's been all Ducks. Jordan Bell the kick to Boucher. And the rebound, Robert Cartwright for the Cardinal.
Well, how many times you have your 5-man dribble penetrate for the 4-man for the 3?
Grant Verhoeven can't get the tip. Had a couple tries at it. Trevor Standback lost it, and now he's fouled. And Standback will head to the line. Fouls on Jordan Bell of Oregon is first. So the freshman from Pasadena, Trevor Standback, is just 2 of 8 at the line this season. Shooting 2.
Wow, that's an arc.
A lot of arc on that one.
Put some height on that one.
One more for Standback, who has 4 points here in the first half. And as I mentioned earlier, he had 2 the entire season. Coming into this game, he had a couple of free throws against Cal State Northridge back in November.
So not even 1 field goal, and then 2 field goals in 2 possessions.
Stanford now 0 of 3 at the line. And they're shooting 31% and 2 of 8 outside the arc. And they've gone about 5 minutes without a field goal. Oregon can just about play for the last shot. Chris Boucher lines it up. And Roman Sorkin goes over the back. There's 1.9 left in the half.
Going to go to the line.
And a foul on Roman Sorkin of Oregon, his first, will put Stanford on the line. And a costly foul. It's the 7th team foul, so 1-1.
And you can see Dana Altman not happy about that foul. And you usually leave a couple seconds to get the offensive rebound, but obviously the number one thing is don't foul on that attempted offensive board.
The senior from Houston, Christian Sanders, is 70% foul shooter. Off the bench now at 9 straight after starting the first 11 games for the Cardinal. And he'll get the bonus. First point for Sanders. Had a career best 10 assists in Stanford's win over Oregon at Maples last February. And he hits both. Bell, three-quarter court heave. And it's just short. And the Oregon Ducks go 7 of 16 from 3, shoot 54% in the first half, and they suffocate Stanford. A tremendous first 20 minutes for the Ducks minus Dylan Brooks.
Well, I thought Stanford came out great, 5-0, had some energy, a little confidence, but Oregon took it away immediately.
Let's check in with Lewis Johnson.
Well, Coach, despite the score, I know that coaching never stops. What are you paying attention to, and what are you demanding of your players as this game continues?
Well, I didn't like our offensive efficiency. Our ball movement wasn't very good and took a lot of quick threes. So yeah, we've got 16 threes up. We had a lot of volunteers there, but defensively at times we look pretty good. At other times our activity wasn't very good.
All right, Dana, thank you very much. Roxy?
All right, Lewis, good stuff. And coaches are never satisfied, are they? He's up 17 and he's complaining.
That was the Lou Holtz interview of the year. That was Lou Holtz right there.
Coming up after the break, it's the State Farm halftime report. Is Oregon looking for their 16th straight school record as they lead Stanford to the break. Saturday Hoops presented by Wendy's. Number 11, Oregon 39, Stanford 22, getting ready to start the second half, along with Matt Muehlbach and Lewis Johnson. Roxy Burnsley with you from a full house at Matthew Knight Arena. Here are the Tire Pros Pac-12 standings, and Arizona still unbeaten after that big win at Pauley Pavilion today. And Oregon trying to match the Cats and go to 7-0. And a reminder that Oregon and Arizona meet just once this season, and that game is right here in early February.
Well, interesting, too. They only met once last year. That game was in Tucson, and, of course, Oregon knocked off Arizona's streak that I think, Roxy, was somewhere around 55, 60. I can't remember the actual number, but they knocked them off in Tucson. Pretty convincing win, actually. So Arizona will want payback for sure coming up here. You think with Trier back, we sure hope Dylan Brooks is back then.
There are your scoring leaders at Marcus Allen with the first 5 points for Stanford coming in the first minute of the game. Hasn't scored since. Michael Humphrey with 4, and Dorian Pickens, who Stanford really needs, was scoreless in the first half.
Well, we highlighted Pickens as a guy that needed to score, their best three-point shooter, a guy taking the ball out right in front of us here, their second leading scorer. He's got to knock some in. The other side of things, they've got to defend better and hope Oregon just doesn't keep firing from all sides of the court. If Oregon does that, if Oregon has their A game, let's just be candid, Stanford has no chance the second half. It's just the way it is, and Oregon's had their B+, A- game so far.
They have added a point for Oregon as a first half shot from Dylan Ennis that was ruled a 2 has been changed to a 3. And that was during a review before the start of the second half, and Marcus Allen with the points for the Cardinal.
Well, that's exactly how the game started. Marcus Allen getting 5 early points. In fact, he's still the leading scorer of Stanford. He scored 5 in the first minute of the game, and Stanford needs to do a better job offensively this half. That's the key for them. Can they get back in it and make some shots?
Playing without Reed Travis, their leading scorer and rebounder on the year, and as we chronicled, Dylan Brooks out for Oregon. And there's a whistle. And by the way, Jordan Bell is wearing a new jersey here in the second half. And a foul committed by Stanford. There is Bell wearing number 32 instead of his usual number 1. Third foul on Michael Humphrey is Bell had some blood on his jersey. That's why he had to switch. So Humphrey leaves with the 3 fouls, and Josh Sharma in the game. He has 3 fouls. Offensive foul. We're going the other way as we check in with Lewis Johnson.
Well, a little walk and talk with Jared Haas as he came back to the court, and I asked him, where is your focus here for the second half? He said, number one, defensively, we've got to get into their guys shooting the 3. He said, look, if 20 feet's not good enough, then we'll go out to 24 feet, but we've got to find a way to try and slow down the 3-point shooting. And on offense, he wants his guys to continue to attack the zone, the duck zone defense with dribble penetration. And then I said, look, when you're down this much, do you speak to the emotion of losing like this? He said, no. He said, look, as long as I'm the coach, I expect everybody to play hard, and that's what I'm expecting here in the second half. Roxy?
All right, Lewis is Grant Verhoeven with a bucket for Jared Haas in Stanford. 3-point shooting was so good for Oregon in the first half, they made another one during halftime. They got an extra point out of it.
And I thought Lewis made a really good point there, talking about shooting from so deep, and you think about when Jared Haas was playing, nobody shot the ball past the 3-point line. That was where you shot. Nowadays, guys are not afraid to go 2, 3, 4 feet out, and I think, you think about it, a 4-footer past the 3-point line is a better shot if no one's on you than one that's contested at the line.
Josh Sharma missed the putback after Robert Cartwright missed a 3. Chris Boucher runs the floor and then runs right into the stanchion with help from Josh Sharma, his 4th foul.
And I don't like that call right there. That's kind of a bailout call. I thought it was a bad pass. You never want to throw it like that to a guy running right under the rim. Really low percentage pass right here. Boucher actually makes a fantastic catch turning around. I thought Sharma was just running back. It's not a foul to me.
Jordan Bell, who had a career-high 26 here Thursday against Cal. Flips that one up and in, and he has 6.
And that was almost like the one he had against Cal. Remember, he pivoted to the middle, but then he pivoted back to the weak side. Verhoeven knocks in that layup on the press, but that time Bell just went with the 2-point move instead of a 3-series move. Maybe tricked that Stanford player there.
Tyler Dorsey knocks down a 3. 9 threes for Oregon.
And you want to sit back and maybe blame Stanford, but Oregon's just playing too good right now. They're just a better team, and they're playing at a very high level.
Splitting the defenders, Marcus Allen to the basket. 9 for Allen. Way off from Dylan Ennis, and Michael Humphrey back in the game with the rebound. Allen for 3. Chris Boucher up over everybody for the rebound.
Now, for as thin as he is, he does a great job boxing out, and if he boxes out, no chance anybody's getting it but him.
Using what of his frame that he has.
That's right.
Broken up by the Cardinal, and a steal for Marcus Allen. Backdoor for Dorian Pickens, and Chris Boucher blocks it.
And look at him handle it.
Timeout, Oregon. So the Ducks take a timeout as Stanford trailing by as many as 19. It's a 15-point game. And the Swatter boy.
He's back. One of his favorite things to do, come in weak side, head on a swivel. You better be ready.
Well, Chris Boucher, the block as Oregon leads the country in blocks at nearly 8 per game. And Boucher, who set an Oregon single-season record last year in blocks, another one right there in the art of blocking.
Here we go.
Block.
A little beret right there for the artwork. And how good is this? And I think when you block shots, 3 things stand out. Your length right there, 7'3", maybe even longer than 7'3" wingspan, but the anticipation, the timing, seeing things before they happen. He told me that before the game. And I think the third thing for him on the weak side, when you block weak side, you have to be athletic, you have to be quick, and I think that's the thing that he hurts teams most on, not just the block on his man, but those coming from the side, weak side blocks.
The native of Montreal, Chris Boucher. 13 points, Dylan Ennis to lead the Ducks. Boucher with 12. Marcus Allen 9 to pay Stanford. And Boucher has it go through his hands, out of bounds. And a turnover by the Oregon Ducks. Chris Boucher and Oregon looking for their school record 16th straight win.
Back inside Matthew Knight Arena, and check it out. Look at all those students with the Reset the Code t-shirts on. There's been a campaign created by Duck students to help bring back basic respect for one another. And here to explain how everything has gone all week long and where this thing is going is Sarah Vela Labrador. You're a senior here. And first of all, Sarah, explain to everyone what was the purpose of Reset the Code here at Oregon.
So Reset the Code is a campaign by students, for students, really calling to remind people that our campus, we want to have a respectful, welcoming, and diverse campus.
And so how did everybody respond this week? How did they get involved and really begin to work on these ideas?
So far we've had a really overwhelmingly positive response. A lot of students have been putting in a lot of hours to make this possible, and it's been really great so far.
Excellent. It seems like it's been received very well. And what could be next? Anything maybe to announce soon?
Yeah, so today we'd like to take this moment to invite all Pac-12 schools to reset the code on their own campus or any campus anywhere. If they really feel the mission, they could go for it. And Also, we have these t-shirts available at the Duck Store. They're available online and today as well, and the proceeds will be benefiting the Student Diversity Campaign.
Excellent, Sarah. Thanks so much. And Roxy, this has been something going on all week. It's been a great program. And just a personal note, I think this has national implications, a chance to get any campus, middle school, high school, or college campuses, talking to themselves, showing more respect to one another as they have their educational experience. Roxy?
All right, Louis, a terrific effort here on campus and great story. And you can see the students are all on board here in the pit crew, especially, Matt, because they're all wearing Reset the Code t-shirts.
About 80% of them, if not more, and that's big because you think of them, wow, look at this.
Speaking of big,
Yeah.
Chris Boucher, the follow slam.
Is there a more unique player in the country than Chris Boucher?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Michael Humphrey, by the way, for Stanford, has picked up his 4th foul. But Chris Boucher, the only player in Pac-12 history last year, 100 blocks and at least 35 made threes. And you want to talk about unique, it's only been done 3 times in the history of college basketball.
I'm going to ask you who the other 3 are.
You're really going to put me on the spot like
and
that?
I remember it was like...
I got to look it up.
Wasn't it like Anthony Davis? I know Anthony Davis was in on that.
Another block as Christian Sanders is rejected.
Oh,
Jordan Bell, the Euro step and one. He did that Thursday against Cal, the same move. This time he gets an and one to the line.
absolutely, Roxy. That was the exact move. I think the last time he dribbled it the whole way up the court. That time there was a pass, but he steps out right. You watch the right foot go out, then the left come back in for that Euro move. We see Boucher on the follow. No box out. No box out a kid like that. He'll make you pay. This is fun to watch. This team, and we've talked a lot about Dana Altman and what he does. Details, they defend, they pass the ball. But on top of all that, they're just fun to watch. They're a fun team to come out and watch play.
Largest lead for Oregon. Inside 14:20 remaining. Marcus Sheffield. And a foul called against Jordan Bell, his second. Will put Trevor Standback at the line. And Standback will head back to the stripe. Jordan Bell, who is the all-time block shot leader for a career in Oregon history, though Boucher has the single season record, as Standback gets the bounce off the heel of the rim.
Well, you talk about that Arizona game, them coming up here, and you think of some of the matchups. Lauri Markkanen against, I think it's going to be Boucher. Dusan Ristic down low against Jordan Bell. Some of those big men matchups are going to be phenomenal.
1 out of 2 for Standback. And by the way, here's that note for you on Boucher. The other 2 players that have achieved 100 blocks and 35 made threes in a season. KJ McDaniels of Clemson did it back in the 2013-2014 season. And Eddie Griffin back in 2001 at Seton Hall. And Boucher becoming the 3rd. That was last year as Tyler Dorsey called for a walk. So Oregon, who began the year at 2-2, now 17-2. And trying also to extend their home court winning streak to a school record 38 in a row. And it's the second longest active streak in college basketball, behind Kansas.
Yeah, and you look at their home games the rest of the year. Obviously, they've already played. UCLA won that game. They've got Arizona, as we have mentioned several times, February 4th. I wonder who else they have at home. It's a pretty favorable home schedule.
Well, ASU still comes here. And keep in mind also that they don't play the Washington schools at home this year. So they traveled to the state of Washington to play the Cougs and the Huskies, but they don't make the return visit here. And the mountain schools, they'll come here.
Yep.
Chris Boucher to the basket.
And that was the same move as Jordan Bell. These two guys are copying each other, trying to outdo each other.
Marcus Allen missing a three. Here comes Dylan Ennis.
There's trouble.
Cavell Bigby-Williams had it stripped out of bounds on the end line with Stanford. It'll stay with Oregon.
Now you look here, we saw Bell with the step. He had a little bit of a different step, but again, both of those big guys, maybe a travel. There's close, hard to tell. He might have just taken two, but both those guys now being able to handle the ball, and I hadn't seen that at all last year. I talked to Jordan Bell earlier in the year, said, I want to play some three, and I thought, there's no way you're playing the three. You're playing the five. But he's done a lot better job handling it as well. See Pritchard getting in on it.
It hit the underside of the stanchion, and it's out of bounds. Last touch by Oregon, and a Stanford ball. And also on the schedule for Oregon, keep in mind, on the heels of that game here against Arizona on February 4th, they have to go to UCLA. So in a span of 5 days, they're playing both the Wildcats and the Bruins.
And they play SC, who, again, hasn't played as well, but when you have those three in a row, not an easy game either.
Reach and foul and Peyton Pritchard. And you wonder if when they play USC at that point, if the Trojans will have Benny Boatwright back.
That's right, yeah.
Because he's still probably a couple of weeks away. Last time I talked to Andy Enfield was last weekend when I had USC at Colorado, and that's what he said. And the time frame is they're hoping for after the matchup with UCLA, which they have this week.
Well, the big storyline this year for the Pac-12 has been guys out. And, of course, Trier was a big story. He's back. Trace Tinkle has been out. He's not back.
And who knows when he's going to come back.
He may not. Brooks has been out and back and out again.
Ivan Rabb has missed some time at Cal. 1 out of 2 for Marcus Sheffield.
Had the Utah players that were out just for school reasons but came back, and actually Collette missed a game last week.
And Michael Humphrey is fouled out of the game with 12:22 to play. And he can't believe the call.
Yeah, that looked not like a lot from this angle. Well, you mentioned it, Roxy. One reason Humphrey struggled a little bit earlier in the year was he was in foul trouble a lot, and recently has been on the court. Being on the court has produced big numbers. Not tonight.
So Humphrey fouls out, and you can't blame Jared Haas for playing Michael Humphrey at this point of the game, because what do you got to lose at this point of the game? You might as well play him.
Agree 100%.
Before the Peyton Pritchard three, wave off the shot, a charge. It's an offensive foul called on Oregon, and Dylan Ennis his second.
But I'll tell you, for Oregon, the next guy that I'd like to see maybe get some time and some good time is Cavell Bigby-Williams here. He's a JC transfer player of the year. You see Dana Altman coaching his team up, and there's Cavell there. Kind of a slow start, and I think people think, you look at Boucher last year, he came in, was unbelievable, and you think that's really easy to do. And actually, if you go back a year, Kadeem Allen, remember, was the JC Player of the Year for Arizona. He had to redshirt that year, wasn't even ready to play at all. So I think a little patience with him, and maybe a game like this, get a little confidence.
It also helped that Arizona had real depth in the backcourt, too.
They had some guys.
TJ McConnell, Nick Johnson, they weren't bad. Plus Rondé Hollis-Jefferson was there, taking up a wing spot. So Sean Miller could afford to redshirt Kadeem Allen.
That's right.
Peyton Pritchard lines it up.
That's a nice stroke.
10-3 for Oregon.
You see a lot of people make threes, but that one right there has sustainability. You can shoot that for a long time in this league.
Stanford ball is Oregon pulling away. The Ducks, they're rolling here at home.
I didn't have the first shot, and then, Jordan, very unselfish player, he gave a screen, and then that opened me up. I let it go, and, I was shooting it bad, but I always say to myself, keep shooting it like it's your first shot. And, you just dream of that moment. And, I came true today, and, I want more moments like that. I want to get put in situations like that for my team. So, it felt good.
And that was Dylan Brooks hitting that game-winning shot against UCLA right here to open up conference play. What a thrilling moment that was for Dylan Brooks, for Oregon, and a huge win it was for the Ducks to come back and knock off UCLA.
Well, you called that shot. I love what he said and just kind of how he walked us through that and think about your first shot. What was that like calling it? You were, 15 feet away right here?
It was right in front of us. Marcus Sheffield missing the pull-up. And it was in line, and it was some desperation because it was challenged. He was on the move.
That ball right in front of him.
And it was very similar to the shot he hit against Tennessee over at the Maui Invitational back in November in overtime to help Oregon win that game.
Way up at the top.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, it almost looked like he was going to shoot it there first. Gave that little pump fake, as he said, and then took the screen. When he shot it, did you know it was in?
It was online. You could see it had a real chance to go in.
Well, the important question, have you ever hit a game winner?
Marcus Sheffield a miss. In my wonderful career at the high school level. Yeah, I did hit one. Thanks for asking, Matt Dielbach. I did against my rival, actually.
Who was the rival?
Menlo School.
Menlo School, okay. Was it deep?
It was a corner three.
Ooh.
It was a tie game to win the game.
Just like this
Just
here?
like Chris Boucher, although I made mine. You ever hit a game winner?
I've got almost as good a story.
Cavell Bigby Williams the block.
I missed one right where Brooks shot it to lose the California State basketball championship.
No.
Oh, yeah. Against Crenshaw High School.
Okay.
Stevie Thompson and the Crenshaw,
Yeah.
I'm not sure their nickname, but at the Oakland Coliseum, lined one up, in and out.
Playing for Bishop O'Dowd.
Played for O'Dowd and didn't have the Roxy feeling after I launched it. Thought it was good. Or the Dylan Brooks.
On a much lower scale, mate. Come on, that was a state championship.
Yeah,
and Dylan Brooks on national TV to knock off UCLA was undefeated.
And I never think about it either. Only on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Never on Sunday.
You take a break.
I thought,
You're beating yourself up.
That could have changed my life. It really would have. What was the movie? Mr. Destiny?
Mr. Destiny with James Belushi.
That's right.
Yeah. And Michael Caine was in that movie too, man.
There's the pass, and that was Dylan Ennis again. And I remember that as a player. That was a pass that we were taught never to make that pass unless you were 100% sure it's a really tough throw and catch.
Here's Dorian Pickens, and he hits a three. And Pickens' first points of the game, and it took over 30 minutes for him to get in the scoring column.
Yeah, and that's, you can see when he launches it and gets his feet square, and he's got a nice rhythm, a nice shot, second leading scorer. Just, they have not gotten him in a position today really to make anything.
And he is the best outside shooter on the Stanford team.
By far.
Off balance, Casey Benson. Cavell Bigby Williams underneath. He brought it down. Christian Sanders ties him up. Let's check in with Lewis Johnson.
So, Roxy, we were talking about Dylan Brooks earlier, and here's a guy who averaged about 30 minutes a game. And when I asked Dana Altman about the timing of his injury as it relates to the season and their big picture goals, thinking about the Pac-12 and the national picture, Altman had to remind me that it's only mid-January, so we still got some time to get better. And the situation will give some guys a chance to play more and get better themselves. Brooks a part of that 7-man rotation that Altman runs, and those 30 minutes that he was playing now are going to be distributed among some guys who are on the court right now. Roman Sorkin, Cavell Bigby Williams, and Keith Smith. And Altman said that this is really an important time for those guys to get the 10 minutes or so that they can continue to develop and be ready for later in the season if they may have stretches that go longer than 10 minutes, say maybe 20 to 30 minutes. So this is an important game and an important moment for Sorkin and Bigby Williams and Smith to take up the slack for the injured Dylan Brooks.
Well, they'll get the chance, Lewis, and somebody needs to gobble up those minutes and make the most of an opportunity, which Lewis was talking about.
Well, I think it's a great point because you'll have you'll have a Sweet 16 game, an Elite game, Elite 8 game like that where someone's in foul trouble. Sorkin, Bigby Williams, they have to come in and it's maybe not 15 minutes, it's 6 minutes, something like that. But just being able to play, have that experience, and have the confidence. That's really the big thing, to play in a big game and have that confidence.
One more for Dylan Ennis.
Actually, Lewis and I were talking about that in shoot-around and how many times that happens to people, and I had to just say that this was the first time I've met Lewis Johnson. And I'm telling you, the coolest guy in the Pac-12 network, and it's not even close.
You are too kind over there on the other side of the court to say that.
I mean,
I get to travel them all football season, so I know what you're talking
about. You already
about.
know about it.
And you know what, guys? I'm listening to you talk about those last-second shot opportunities in basketball. I have no story like that, but I can tell you about anchoring a 4x4.
Please fill us in.
Because leg and having to bring it home.
So what's that like to bring it home?
Well, I'm going to tell you what's wild is when you stand there and watch the rest of the team sort of let it slip away, and you go, guys, you're leaving it all on me? And you just do what you can. A lot of fun, as it is, I'm sure, to hit that last-second shot.
Well, with the hands of Big B. Williams.
I bet in track, I mean, you can see him. You know, you can chase him down, so there's some time. And then if you can finish, the photo finish is I mean, that's one of the best in sports.
Shot clock at 10 for Robert Cartwright. Cartwright, nice quick drive to the hoop.
You know, Cartwright has improved. We talked about him, great guard at Stanford, Chris Hernandez, and Cartwright has some of the
Chris
same.
Hernandez was tough.
He was tough, but he has some of the same skill level. You just got to see what he can do. And I'd like to see how he really improves as a player. But Stanford right now just hanging in. Oregon dominating here in Eugene.
Saturday Hoops is presented by Wendy's and by Clean Crisp Coors Light. With great beer comes great responsibility. And by Black Bear Diner, good old-fashioned family food. Oregon up 20, trying to extend their winning streak and set a new school record. Their 16th straight victory. It's time for Reese's shoot for two, and Chris Boucher leads Oregon with 16 points.
Well, off the bounce on that one there, and then flying in on the weak side, the long arms. We talked about it, the 7'3.5" wingspan. Big Bob Marley fan. Read about him.
Yeah.
Love that. From the islands.
Every little thing's going to be all right.
Caribbean islands. You know, a kid came up, had a tough background growing up in Montreal, and you just love what he does. He came here to Eugene and said, I'm going to make it work, you know, and had that focus, and you can see him right now. And every time we see him, one of the nicest kids we talked to out here before the games, and really interesting guy.
Casey Benson at the line for Oregon. One more coming. 4 points for Benson. Tied a career high with 15 on Thursday here against Cal.
Playing well again, playing like he did last year at this time. And I think now they're much deeper at the guard position because you have, obviously, Ennis, Pritchard, and now Benson, who was starting again last year.
Marcus Allen going inside. 11 for Allen to lead the Cardinal.
Yeah, he's had a nice game tonight. He's really played well. Been the one bright spot, really.
Jordan Bell with the left hand.
And the number 32, as you pointed out. That's his offensive game has increased, and he has really stepped it up on that end of the floor.
Marcus Sheffield from deep. Out of bounds, last touch by Marcus Allen at Stanford. It belongs to Oregon. So Jared Haas with 1-3 straight coming in here. We're trying to get their first road sweep since 2010. After winning in Corvallis on Thursday night. And for Stanford, they'll have 8 days to get ready for Cal next Sunday rather, over in Berkeley.
Well, and you know they'll respond from this game. They responded huge from those first 4 losses. 3 wins, and you'll think they respond from this.
Jordan Bell missing a 3. Inside 6 minutes to go. Robert Cartwright has it broken up. That was a pass intended for Sharma. Tyler Dorsey in transition. 3. his third three of the game.
Well, he was the other guy we talked about on the Open and being more consistent. I go back to the tournament, both the Pac-12 and the NCAA tournament last year. I thought Tyler Dorsey may have been their best player for stretches. He was fantastic. They're going to need him again if they want to make a long run.
Strong finish by Marcus Allen. As Dorsey averaged just under 20 points per game as Oregon made that march to the tournament championship in Las Vegas. Remember the all-freshman team in the conference last year, and a travel's called. Oregon with a turnover. 5:08 remaining, and Dana Altman's team, who won 31 games, the school record last year, went all the way to the Elite Eight, lost to a terrific Oklahoma team.
They were on fire that game, on fire.
Also got to make it tough. He's good friends with Lon Kruger. You lose to a good buddy. As a three knocked down by Marcus Sheffield. Just the fourth three for Stanford, as Oregon has made 11. Cavell Bigby Williams, it rolls off. So Oregon hit 11 of 24 threes against Cal, have made 11 out of 23 here against Stanford. Josh Sharma clanks that one. And Cavell Bigby Williams is fouled, and if it's Josh Sharma, that's his fifth. Second Stanford player to foul out of the ballgame. Michael Humphrey fouled out about 7 minutes ago, and now Sharma is done with 2 points. And that will put Bigby Williams at the line for the Oregon Ducks. And Oregon appears to be headed, Matt, to another one-sided victory. As the UCLA game was a nail-biter. They hit that winning three to win it by 2. But the last 5 games, Oregon has won by an average of just under 26 points.
Yeah, nuts right now. I mean, they are playing as good as anybody. And you'd almost have to say right now, well, if Brooks is playing, you start to judge these 3 teams: Oregon, UCLA, Arizona. I would say Arizona right now would be number 1 to go into Pauley and win that game. And
now that Trier is back.
Assuming Brooks' sprain is not a big deal, I would almost I'd had UCLA ahead of this Oregon team ever since the start of the year. I think it's almost dead even, if not Oregon actually bumping ahead of UCLA at this point.
And this is game 2 of a quadruple header on Pac-12 Network today. Coming up next, we'll take you to Seattle as Utah and Washington go at it. And then the nightcap just up the road in Corvallis at 7:30. It'll be Cal against Oregon State. Offensive foul. Nothing going Stanford's way. It's all Oregon in front of a full house at Matthew Knight Arena. (65-44) Oregon with the lead as we try to piece together the Pac-12 with Matt Muehlbach.
Look at that. That Adam Gordon did me up right. That's a Glenn Parker special, the Pac-12 puzzler. That's nice.
Well, you take care of his Wildcats.
That's right. You look at the power play. Who has the pole? I think with Arizona's win, Arizona has pole position. I would rank Oregon right now a tick ahead of UCLA. And I think still, though, all 3 of these teams, no question, could make it to Glendale. And I think the question that has been on my mind last couple weeks, can Utah deal with this RPI problem? And the crazy thing is, I think they can. Why? They were 117 last week before they played SC. They moved up about 15 points after playing SC and beating them. They moved up again after losing to UCLA by a bucket. And then this week, they've moved up another, I don't know what it was, 14 or 15. They're 68 right now, Roxy.
Tyler Dorsey from deep. And also with Utah, Matt, they're an interesting team because how the committee will assess them. once Cedric Bearfield and David Collette became eligible in mid-December, you can't throw out the first half of the year, but also you have to look at Utah significantly different because of what Collette and Bearfield add to the equation for the running Utes.
You have to. And if you consider guys that get hurt and cannot play, you've got to consider guys that were out and then showed up right about the semester. And I think if you look at that team, see Reed Travis there, they're also had been in the mix because their RPI had been so high, but struggling in the Pac-12 right now. But I think that Utah team at a 68, I think the highest RPI team that has been in it was actually USC. Kevin O'Neill about 5 or 6 years ago made the tournament. And I think you've got to be in that 60 range to make it. Utah right there, right now.
So those three teams that you alluded to, Matt, Oregon, UCLA, Arizona have kind of separated themselves. In that next group, what are you looking at?
So I think the interesting thing, I think Utah is going to get in. I think the other three teams, wow.
Alley-oop to Cavell, Bigby Williams.
And that was big. And we talked about him gaining confidence. What better way to gain confidence than get an alley-oop like that in your home crowd? And to follow up on that, Roxy, your thought there, so the block goes out of bounds. I think the other three, now we'll first look at this alley-oop. Benson with the dime from deep. Not enough ball pressure. You don't get ball pressure. Easy to serve it up there on a platter.
Crowd going nuts because the walk-on Charlie Noble is coming in, but it's time for... Get to our sixth man of the game in a minute. There's a foul off the inbound. And it's on Peyton Pritchard of Oregon, his third. And speaking of our Motel 6, sixth man of the game.
Well, there is JC Player of the Year, Bigby Williams, 5 boards, 2 blocks, the big alley-oop dunk, and that's, again, the type of confidence. We said all those stories about hitting game winners. I'm not going to ask you if you had any alley-oops, and don't ask me.
No, I never got even close to the rim.
Now, Bigby Williams is a guy that I think, look at that, he can help them. You know, again, I think because of Boucher's success last year, we all thought maybe a better, bigger year this year. But again, Boucher, you look at what Jordan Bell has done. They played so well, there just hasn't been time for Bigby Williams.
What do you make of USC? Because they got off to that great start as Grant Verhoeven at the line for Stanford, and they did most of their damage without Benny Boatwright, who they expect to come back maybe in a couple of weeks.
I think that is the biggest question. If he comes back, number one, I think they'll play better. Number two, the committee will take that into account. SC right now, 33 in the RPI. They have a terrific RPI. They haven't played well, so if Boatwright comes back, that could really put them in position. I think right now Utah is in. I think they'll get in. I think the two teams, to me, USC and Cal, those are the two teams that I think are fighting it out for that last spot.
They only play once, and Cal beat USC a couple of weeks ago at the Galen Center. How much does that help the Bears if it's A versus B argument?
Very big, because they beat them on the road, which is going to go a long way.
Shot clock violation against Oregon. And Oregon, for all the great things they've done, that's their 20th turnover today. So, you know, Dana Altman wasn't happy at halftime talking to Lewis Johnson. There's another thing he can remind his team about as he tries to prepare them for what's coming up this week in the road trip to Utah and Colorado.
And I think that's an underrated road trip. I mean, a harder road trip than you think. And even though Colorado hasn't played well, they're due. We just talked about how good Utah is. That's a road trip you could lose to if you're not careful.
Roman Sorkin the rebound. While we have a moment for Stanford, we want to congratulate Doug Drabick, who is their media relations director for basketball. Is not on the road trip, as he and his lovely wife Erica welcomed their second child. Avery Drabick was born earlier this week, so a little girl, and their first. Lucas will be a nice big brother, so congratulations to the Drabick family.
Absolutely.
Doug deservedly getting a few days off.
Way to go, Doug. Love the name Avery, too. Missed him up here.
Dorian Pickens knocks down a three.
Now, the crazy thing is this Stanford team still has a 61 RPI. And even if they get blown out, RPI doesn't take into consideration the score. They're playing a team that has a very high RPI in Oregon. They could actually move up in the RPI.
Big B Williams down the lane.
Now, to me, this has been part of the story, is Big B Williams getting some time, some confidence. You can see the talent. Might get another block here if they bring it inside, but
Marcus Sheffield knocks down his second three.
And back to what Lewis Johnson did on the interview. Having Dylan Brooks out probably allowed Big B Williams some more minutes in this game tonight, and he's taken advantage.
So Oregon looking for win number 18, their school record 16 straight, and also they'll extend their home court winning streak to an ongoing school record 38 in a row, which is the second longest active streak in college basketball behind Kansas. But the Ducks will run out the clock, and this new school record, 16 straight wins for the University of Oregon as they dismantle Stanford in front of a full house in Eugene today.
Well, I thought Stanford had a chance. I thought it was a sleeper type win. They could come in and surprise them. Up 5-0. After that, it was a boat race. Oregon was unbelievable.
Our Barbasol close shave player of the game, Chris Boucher, going back into the starting lineup with the Ducks not having Dylan Brooks.
Well, the unicorn, the skill set, does it all. Outside, inside, the blocks. Dana Altman has this team rolling. We've all talked about it. It's getting close to February. Some big games on the horizon for this Duck team.
So Chris Boucher leads the way with 16, 15 from Dylan Ennis. 16 straight wins for the Oregon Ducks as a new school record for Oregon basketball. My partner, Matt Muehlbach, and Lewis Johnson, our great Pac-12 Network crew, our director, Scott Barkey, producer, Michael Molinari, Roxy Bernstein, saying so long from Eugene. 69-52, the Ducks win it. Now to the studio.